welcome to the DB&J Wrestling Podcast. I'm your host, Turnbuckle Jim, and with me are...
Hey, I'm Brian.
Hey, and you got Chair Shot Donnie with you.
Yeah, Brian, you really need a nickname sometime, man.
I had a couple ideas, but I'll work for some for the end of the show. I got you.
We're not going with Flying Brian or anything like that, so...
Brian Canrana.
Brian Canrana.
How about Brian Spanish announce table glass?
Yeah, that works. I'm good with that. So, in this episode, we're going to be reviewing Raw from February 17th, 2014. We're going to do our Attitude Era retrospective with Final 4 In Your House 13 from February of 1997. So that was 17 years ago. Holy crap, we are getting old. And finally, we're going to do our top 5 favorite wrestlers of all time, which I know is going to be a yelling fest at the end. I apologize for you guys in advance for hating on everything you guys choose.
Oh, yeah, just wait. Just wait. You guys are going to have a laugh right at mine.
All right. And then finally, we're going to do our Elimination Chamber predictions. So, you guys ready to go?
Yeah, let's hit it.
Let's do it.
All right. Raw is not War anymore. It is starting out with... John Cena, Cesaro, Sheamus, Christian, Orton, Daniel Bryan, and Kane all showing up and talking some smack. Donnie, what'd you think?
I thought it was a pretty good way to start off Raw. I mean, there's going into Elimination Chamber, there's not a lot of options that you have to start off Raw before that. So I think this is a really good way to start it, and I think everybody came off looking as strong as possible. Really good to see Cesaro, I guess is how you pronounce it, kind of being featured in more of a central role.
Agreed. Brian, what are your thoughts?
I'm just going off a lot what you said last week, and no matter how entertaining that stuff is, it's just always good because it gets everybody out there. Like, as more wrestlers come out, the music hits, crowd gets pumped, but Orton kills it for me every time. Like, he's absolutely boring, but for everyone else, like the stare down that Cesaro had with Cena, like that stuff, like, it's good that they're giving him that build-up. I'm just curious where they're going with him from this point on, because he's not going to win the match, I don't think, on Sunday. I'm just curious where this push is going.
Yeah. I think Orton is probably done for the rest of the year after he loses the belt, to be honest with you. He really has no momentum. He's losing to everybody. He's feeling stale, and I think he really needs a break, to be honest with you guys. So, actually, a couple thoughts that I had. Who else is buying the Daniel Bryan Yes shirt besides myself? I'm buying the shirt.
I haven't bought a wrestling shirt in so long. I think the last wrestling shirt I bought was actually the Carlito Apple shirt, if that dates me at all. So I don't think I'll be partaking this time.
Yeah.
Hey, to be fair, I have I found it at a Goodwill for $1, so don't judge. But I found it like an old Jerichoholic shirt when we first got to the WWF.
Oh, that's
Nice,
awesome.
nice. That's like old school about buying a new shirt. Nice. All right.
Yeah, that's the best way to go.
Okay. Well, that segues into our next segment, which was Daniel Bryan versus Christian. Brian, what'd you think?
I was a little curious what you guys think about this because I kind of missed that little part right there because I had to step away. But like when I look back and I saw that it said that Christian attacked Daniel Bryan, like, did he get booed for that? Are they trying to turn him heel at all?
I think so. I don't know. I can't remember if they booed him or not, but he definitely was taunting him throughout the match. He beat the crap out of him beforehand. I think they're making him go heel.
Yeah, and that's we'll see where that goes from there. But to me, the whole thing led up to, and I don't know if you want to break down the quote unquote match he had with Kane, but I think the whole point is just to wear Daniel Bryan down, have a supposed injury of sorts, so that way if he loses on the Chamber match, it's going to be because of the shoulder.
Well, Donnie, what'd you think of that match?
Right. Well, I think it was an attempt at turning Christian heel. If you listen to JBL throughout most of the match, he's trying to talk about this side of Christian and this new more vicious Christian that they're trying to try to build up towards the match. The only problem that I see with that is that it's making this match coming up maybe a little, it just feels heel heavy. Even if it's not, it just kind of feels that way. And Christian, I've never really bought him as a big heel anyways. I mean, arrogant, sure, but I've always preferred cheering for him. So I thought it was a decent match for what it was. And, I think Christian looked all right and Daniel Bryan looked all right. So
yeah,
it was okay.
I think it was definitely a good match. Neither one of them looked weak. The ending was really good for because Christian didn't get he kind of got the roll-up pin there, so it wasn't too bad. I thought it was a good match. One thing that really kind of intrigued me is that this crowd is hot, and we've seen a lot of hot crowds lately. Is it just me, or is every single city giving Philadelphia level chants for everybody? I mean, it just seems that everybody's so much smarkier now, and the crowd's almost on the same page, and they know all the chants. I love it. I think it's really cool that all the fans are coming together and they know all the chants. But in the same vein, it also can take away from the match too.
Right, yeah, it does seem like they're being more interactive, and I don't know whether maybe it's the time of year that it is. Maybe it's because a lot of the things that are happening right now are kind of on a high-profile level as far as, Daniel Bryan being kind of a grassroots champion. You've got, the CM Punk issues. It's pretty on the topic of a lot of people's mind. And being WrestleMania season, I think, all crowds tend to get hot. Hopefully that's a trend that starts better because, that's just awesome.
Yep. Brian, what are your thoughts?
For me, when I used to go to the shows all the time, I always thought when people were just completely dead or silent, I got mad at them because, you paid money to get here. Most of you. Some obviously might want a radio contest, but if you're here, get into the show. So I think each of the crowds were hey, we don't want to be lame and not look as energetic as last week's crowd because we want people to know that hey. We're a good city, and we love the show.
All right, well, moving on. Kane versus Daniel Bryan. I thought it was okay. It was a good heel beatdown of Bryan. Kane, I love the "You Sold Out" chants. Everybody hates Kane for cutting his hair and losing the mask and putting on a tie. And, oh, my God, Glenn Jacobs is keeping the name but losing the gimmick. But yet keeping the gimmick, too, because he was just vicious out there and just taunting or just tormenting Bryan. So Donnie, what do you think of that?
Yeah, that's really weird how Kane's kind of keeping that hybrid, not a gimmick yet sort of a gimmick thing. He can still make the turnbuckles explode, but he's also in a suit and tie. It's kind of a weird balance that they're striking there, and I buy into it. It's fine. I thought it was a good, the segment did its job. I like the fact that they're sort of going into the Elimination Chamber with Bryan's arm kind of being hurt to be sort of a psychology, preview of some of the things you might see in the match itself. Kind of a wounded animal going into the Coliseum, so to speak.
Yeah, and I love the fact that he was wrestling with a wife beater. What was the last guy who actually wrestled in a white wife beater, except for the Wyatt family? So I guess we can skip that. Anyway,
Sandman maybe, yeah.
Oh yeah, oh god, they played the Sandman. Brian,
let's not forget Hunico if you know that awesome wrestler.
Yeah,
I know.
Now? I can't remember. Anyway,
I think he's Sin Cara now, but no, just for my own thing, what would have made it funny for me is when he does this little pyro thing with the turnbuckles, because he's the Office Kane now. Maybe TPS reports come out. But I like what they're doing with him. Because what haven't they done with Kane that that's not what they're doing right now? It's new, it's original. The fans hate him, so clearly he's still generating interest in him one way or the other, and I like it.
Yeah, I like the fact he can reinvent himself every so many years and still stay as relevant as he was when he first came out as Undertaker's insane brother. So. And
he's eloquent enough on the mic to be able to sell it from a promo standpoint. I think that was my biggest concern when it first started, is how well's Kane going to be, behind the mic, and he's actually doing really well.
Okay, so next was Shield interview. We'll talk about that later. Santino versus Fandango. We're going to skip that for time constraints, and really, who cares?
Yeah, thank you.
Next is Mark Henry versus Roman Reigns, who actually, unfortunately, I missed this match and didn't get a chance to see it. I read the recap of it, and it makes Reigns look like to be freaking Hulk Hogan, just taking out Mark Henry. But Mark Henry is like the wounded bison, so how hard could that be? Brian, what are your thoughts?
I believe this goes back to what Donnie said last week about Mark Henry just being that guy that always comes out for these matches. But, he's just more, he's fodder to the Shield. Let's just be honest, Roman Reigns beat him straight up, and Dean Ambrose had to have it with a disqualification last week, so it's making them look like that Ambrose isn't this the lead dog, that it's Roman Reigns, and it's going to lead to something interesting on Sunday at the Chamber match.
I think so too. I really liked this match just because it led up to the Chamber, especially afterwards with the Wyatts coming out, and just like another non-confrontation, just building up the tension there. And you still want to see him fight. So yeah, I think it definitely built him up to be taking that next step, to maybe challenging Ambrose. So we'll see. Donnie, your thoughts?
Yeah, I just want to reiterate that the Mark Henry's sort of pseudo dominant jobber spot. But Reigns looked strong. There's definite tension within the Shield, and man, that ending with the Wyatts versus the Shield, it's I haven't looked forward to a heel versus heel feud like this in a long time. So it's nice to see.
Good. All right. Really quick, but really, I thought it was kind of funny. Was Goldust Cody Rhodes in the back playing with their. It's not Legos. It's another knockoff that they licensed to the WWE, which is kind of cool that they have those kind of wrestling rings. But gotta love Bad News Barrett just knocking over the fake Legos. I thought that was funny.
Yeah, and I've heard some. I love Bad News Barrett, and I heard a really interesting idea for Bad News Barrett as far as the Raw in Chicago goes. I won't get into it, but it has to do with CM Punk and Bad News Barrett giving them some bad news. So, anyways, I love that. I love that gimmick right now.
I thought when Bad News Barrett first came out, I thought this was a stupid gimmick. He's going to be horrible. We've seen a Bad News before, and that was the classic Bad News Brown. But the fact that he's just like, I have bad news for you. You have no friends. Or I have bad news for you. Just kicks over something like a bully. It's hilarious to me. Brian, what do you think?
Man, I like the whole thing. And again, when I first heard it, I was like, Bad News Brown. But then he wasn't coming out calling people hillbilly sharecroppers. But to tell you the truth, I like it. I just really want to see him get in the ring and do something with the gimmick.
Yeah, I think he really needs to wrestle again. I think his matches with Daniel Bryan back in the day, I thought they were fantastic. That guy was like the number one heel in the company. I think he can get that spot again. So let's see how far Bad News Barrett goes up.
How is he even hurt?
I don't know. That's a good question. I don't think he is. I think he would just they just need to repackage him because they kind of got tired of being the whole evil British guy.
Right. Okay. Well, I'm ready for Bad News in the ring.
Yep. All right, next is Jack Swagger versus Kofi Kingston. I thought it was a decent match. The whole feud with Swagger and Big E seems very forced and very quick. So, Brian, what are your thoughts?
I completely agree with that last statement you had. This is why I honestly didn't really get a whole lot out of the match because, and I feel bad for Kofi Kingston because he is way too talented to be in the jobber status, but it just feels like they're pushing Swagger to be like, oh, he's won a few matches. Big E's just going to, demolish him. That's just what it looks like.
Yeah, I think so, too. I think he's just another person defeated Big E. Donnie, what are your thoughts?
Yeah, feeding him to the wolves. I like the match in and of itself. I'm a Kofi guy. I'm a Kofi Kingston guy. So I definitely think that he made Swagger look as good as you possibly can make Swagger look going into a feud with Big E. It's just a shame that this is just another loss for Kofi after kind of building some momentum after the Orton victory. So interesting, but Swagger versus Langston, or I guess Big E now. Okay, I'll check it out.
Yeah, I'll watch it. It can't be horrible. Both these guys are pretty talented, so I think they'll be okay. Speaking of Big E, next match was Big E Langston versus Jinder Mahal, and was it Drew McIntyre? Did I get that right? 3MB is just so... I don't even know who these guys are anymore. I thought it was kind of a okay match, but it was kind of weird that he would do a handicap match and didn't advertise it. And was it a tag match? Was it a tornado tag? What do you guys think?
I'll go ahead and say,
somebody first before I did that.
It's all right. I'll go ahead and just say that I'm pretty over 3MB. So the fact that they got buried, that's fine. I don't see much of a future for Jinder Mahal. I don't think Drew McIntyre is the savior of the company that maybe they thought he was when he first came out. Mm-hmm. And they didn't even bother bringing out Beaker, what's his name. So yeah. I'm not even. It's a good way to put Big E over. He's the hot thing right now. 3MB is terrible. So good for Big E. And like I said, it looks like we're going to get Swagger there, and that should be fun.
Yeah, Brian.
Okay, to me, I'm a little disappointed with the whole thing because if you give Swagger a credible guy like Kingston to put through a good match so he's ready for the guy, to me, throwing like, I mean, 3MB is a bunch of jobbers, so throwing like 2 jobbers at Biggie to demolish doesn't really say a whole lot to me because we already know he's big, we already know he's powerful. How about you get in a match with somebody who's got swagger type skills and show that you can wrestle like a mat style match?
Yeah. So I'm looking forward to this match. Both these guys do have immature wrestling backgrounds, so I think that should be pretty good. Next up, holy crap, Cena versus Cesaro. I thought it was match of the year caliber, to be honest with you guys. I thought it was just that damn good. What do you think, Brian?
Yeah, I completely agree, but these things come completely out of nowhere because, I mean, despite, my thoughts on Cena, he helped deliver in this match, and the whole, I don't know what your guys' thoughts are about this, but the spinning move that Cesaro does like around the ring, like, I mean, I like it, but at some point I'm just like, can we move on to the next move? But to tell you the truth, like, even in a loss, like, it did nothing but boost Cesaro big time, and I like it.
Looked fantastic the entire match. That got 2. This is awesome chants from the crowd, which is like the highest honor a crowd can bestow on a match. And they gave it 2, which especially for a John Cena match too, because everybody just either loves the guy or hates the guy. There's no in between. That might be that difference. I thought it was very interesting the crowd reaction. What do you think, Donnie?
I think, a lot of the crowd reaction came from the discovering a star is born in Cesaro. It was awesome. It makes me forget about the Real Americans tag team immediately and just only see Cesaro as a singles guy. That was really, really awesome. And going forward, I don't know that we'll see it in WrestleMania, but I think in the fallout of WrestleMania and in the few months after that, I think especially by SummerSlam, we're going to see him in a big spot because that was an impressive match. If only Cena and Orton could put on a match that good, we'd have something special. But that just goes to show that there's a lot of talent underneath of those top rungs that Cena occupies, and they're capable of carrying a match and doing really well with some of those big boys. So go forward, and Cesaro he's got a fan in me.
Can I ask something real quick?
Yeah, go ahead.
Yeah, does anyone think that like he should have already split from Zev Coulter, or does he hurt him being out there with Cesaro like that?
I think either way Cesaro is going to be popular, and I don't think it makes a difference, to be honest with you.
Yeah, I don't even think that they necessarily have to do an angle at this point just to kind of have him go his way, and they could even not say anything about it. I mean, that is WWE fashion, just to kind of drop something and have him go his way. But the amount of face pops that Cesaro is getting, I don't know that Zeb Coulter kind of sends a mixed signal. I mean, he gets face pops too sometimes, so,
There's a lot of people chanting "We are the people," so a lot of people chanting "Yeah." So, I thought that was pretty good. Moving on. You gotta go through this. There was a backstage segment with Orton, Triple H, who I thought wasn't there the evening. Batista and Del Rio, kind of trying to pump up the Orton Triple H connection to Elimination Chamber. Batista shows up. I thought he looked okay, and then Del Rio gets beat up again. What do you guys think?
Yeah, I mean, I think that the whole Triple H Batista sort of tension there is kind of I mean, I understand what they're doing. They're trying to make it not totally look like Evolution is kind of getting back together, but I would not be surprised if at the end we do see Triple H, Orton, and Batista all standing tall together. That just figures it's going to happen. Del Rio, they're just doing what they can to make him look like half of a threat, and I mean, it's not. I don't buy it. Not the way they've booked Batista so far. So this is just sort of one of those. Honestly, I thought the whole segment was pretty forgettable.
Yeah. I thought it was pretty gettable myself, but I don't know. What did you think, Brian?
It actually made me really sad. I'm not going to lie. Because to tell you the truth, when you look at it and you saw the expression on Triple H's face, like, you just can't help but think, is this how they're going to force Batista down people's throats? Is that Triple H going to be beside Orton no matter what, and they're going to have to like Batista because he's going to take down his former Evolution buddies? I mean, I don't know. Or could be the other way where he does turn and go with Batista. He turns heel, then you have to start liking Randy Orton again. Either way doesn't look good to me.
Yeah, well, hopefully hopefully maybe at the Elimination Chamber they'll swerve it somebody else besides Daniel Bryan, or Orton wins the belt, Triple H backs them, and it's Batista or Bryan versus that person. I don't know. Anyway, moving on. Los Matadores and Sin Cara versus the Wyatt family, which is the weirdest matchup of all time, but I think it worked pretty well. Brian, what are your thoughts?
I mean, honestly, I couldn't help but laugh because I mean, if you're trying to get the Wyatts a match, get them some exposure, so be it. But just seeing like Los Matadores come out and then the Wyatts, which have like such a fantastic entrance, like it gives me like goosebumps the whole time.
Yeah.
Like I really like what they're doing with those guys, and this is just another step forward for them.
Donnie, thoughts?
Yeah, I mean, it was. I think Sin Cara and the Matadores were an afterthought. They weren't even. I mean, they were warm bodies. Let's face it. But just dominant
some moves, I thought, but okay.
Yeah. I mean, it's they as much as of a threat that they possibly could pose. One thing I will notice is that Bray Wyatt is vicious in the ring. The guy is stiff, almost like Vader stiff was the term that came to mind. He runs like a freight train, and I hope that doesn't shorten his career or shorten somebody else's. Yeah. But it's certainly something to watch, and it makes him fun to watch because, man, he hits hard.
Yeah, I think his intensity is definitely one of his better suits, and the fact that he can go in the ring is also good, and hopefully he doesn't kill anybody. Anyway, next segment was Jey Uso versus Billy Gunn with Jimmy Uso and Road Dogg on the mics doing commentary. I thought it was a decent short match, but man, Billy Gunn looks old. He is well past his prime. I'm hoping that the New Age Outlaws actually drop the belts this Sunday to a much younger and much more exciting team. What are you guys' thoughts? Go with Brian first. Why not?
Yeah, sorry. Okay, I'm a little confused about this whole thing. So, I mean, you give the Outlaws the belts, and, I mean, you could say the whole Triple H influence on it, but have they had any interaction since they won the belts? I haven't seen it.
Me neither. Nope.
No, I don't. I haven't seen any.
So, if they're not playing off of that, they're just playing off, like, old wrestlers past their prime who, beat a really good tag team and won belts 16 years after their last reign. I get it. But, I mean, it seems like, to me, if you're going to give the Usos the belts after all, like, the work they've done to help bring the tag division back, it seems a little rushed to me. Like, I'd want a little more time to, like, build up a good rivalry with somebody before they get the belts.
Yeah. Well, hopefully they'll have a good match, and then maybe they'll bring it to WrestleMania and actually beat them there. So, that's always a thought. Donnie, what are your thoughts on the quick match?
Yeah, I've heard that they went ahead and booked that. I think it's the dark match or the pre-show match for the Elimination Chamber is going to be the Usos versus the New Age Outlaws. That's what I read somewhere. But and that's perfect. I think the Usos, the time is right. Now the opponent's not right. I do agree with that. I think the New Age Outlaws are they're better served to go ahead and end that feud with Cody and Goldust. And then let the Usos pick up the win there. And that's going to do a couple things. That would make the Usos look like they got a better win for the titles over a more quality opponent, and it would wrap a bow around that Code Dust New Age Outlaws thing.
All right. Well, last segment was Randy Orton versus Sheamus. Randy Orton defeated Sheamus. Sheamus beat Randy Orton via DQ when the Shield ran out at the end. What do you guys think, starting with Donnie?
I just thought that... I don't know. I'll be honest with you. I didn't watch a lot of this match because it's Randy Orton. Like I'm so tired of like the shtick and the garb and stomps and the is he losing control? Apex Predator, blah blah blah. Like I like Sheamus, okay, but for the most part, if you've seen one Randy Orton match, you've seen them all, and the highlight of the match to me was definitely afterwards. It just because I didn't see that coming at all, and I was like, "What? What?" But overall, I just think that Sheamus looked strong, which is good. Orton looks old, like he is, and otherwise, it was a good lead into a pretty awesome ending.
Yeah, I thought the ending was awesome. I'm kind of sad that they ended the actual TV feed of it really soon because we never saw the all-out brawl, but we did see everybody pretty much go at it with the Shields, the Wyatts, all the rest of the members of the Elimination Chamber. I thought that was all very cool. So it made me really excited to see Elimination Chamber on Sunday. What'd you think, Brian?
Yeah, that was pretty much the highlight of the match because, like, you've seen one Orton Sheamus match, you've seen them all. So the brawl made it fantastic for me. I love the whole ending. They had to give the people what they wanted with the Wyatt family and the Shield, and they got it.
Absolutely.
Yeah. It reminded me of one of those old school like Nitro endings where everything just unravels at the end and it's complete pandemonium. They're like, "Oh my gosh, we've never seen anything like this. We'll see you next week." So but it really made me want to watch Elimination Chamber, and in that sense, mission accomplished because I'll be there on Sunday because this is going to be. I want to see where that leads.
Yeah, that definitely did remind me of that.
But I want to thank Donnie for that because like I got like the best image of like Sting coming out from the rafters and just like beating the NWO down with the bats,
Yeah. Yeah, and Tony Schiavone just losing his mind.
It's the best Nitro ever.
Yeah. Oh, my goodness. All right, well, that concludes Monday Night Raw. I think, honestly, as a warm-up show, I give it a solid B+. Not exactly the best show ever, but definitely had a lot of material, and I think that the Cena-Cesaro match is one of the best matches on TV I've seen in a while, and there's been some really good matches that have been on TV lately. Brian?
Yeah.
Or Donnie? I'm sorry, Donnie, go ahead.
I was going to say, yeah, there wasn't that much of a down segment tonight. I mean, there wasn't the Divas bathroom break match. I mean, I kind of used the Orton Cena or the Orton Sheamus one for that one, but no, it was a good Raw. I would say I'd give it a B. Well, you know what? I'm going to give it a B+. That extra plus comes from that Cesaro match. So yeah, B+. I think that's fair.
All right, Brian, what'd you think?
I give it a B. I just think it would have been better if Betty White was out there. I'm kidding. I'm kidding. No. It was very, very good Raw. It's one of those ones. They've been lacking good lead-ups to pay-per-views for a while, and this did it.
Yeah, I think this one definitely set the. Hopefully, will set the tone for Elimination Chamber, and will help a great pay-per-view. So, you guys want to do predictions now while we're fresh on Elimination Chamber?
Yeah, let's go for it.
Okay. Let me actually pull up the matches that are going to be on Elimination Chamber from WWE.com. Where I can order my WWE network next week and see every single pay-per-view known to man. I don't know how the heck they're going to do the ECW pay-per-views without having some kind of huge warning in front of them, but we shall find out.
Yeah, I mean, the WWE Network is one of those things that I think is kind of interesting because it has the potential to be amazing, and it also has the potential to flop hard. Like if WrestleMania comes and all these people are watching and the servers crash because there's so much. I mean, I'm just worried about that. I really am. But at the same time, like I'm still going to be there on Monday, tuning in for the first time and watching all my old This Tuesday in Texas pay-per-views. But it's I can't wait for the network. I think it's going to be fantastic.
Yeah. All right. So let's see here.
Hey, can I ask something while you're looking up the matches?
Yeah.
Like, were you a little surprised they didn't have any more Hall of Fame announcements this week?
Yeah, that was kind of weird. I guess they probably want to save them for after WrestleMania. So let's go see. Anyway, so starting out the pay-per-view will actually be Cody Rhodes and Goldust versus Ryback and Curtis Axel. My money's on Cody Rhodes and Goldust. Why not? Donnie, what's your prediction?
I think the same thing. I think it's going to be a quick match, and this mainly to sort of pass time for both of these teams to kind of keep them in the back of your mind as they figure out what to do with them next. But I think Goldust picks up the win within 4 minutes.
Yep, Brian.
See, I don't know because you always have that. You always try to hold out for are they ever going to turn Cody on Goldust to set up a kind of brother versus brother match? That kind of thing, but unless that happens, there's no way they lose to Rye Axel or whatever they call themselves.
Rye Axel. The former Pale Heyman guys. Next up, let's do Batista versus Alberto Del Rio. It's obviously Batista. The only way if Alberto Del Rio wins is if Batista has a massive aneurysm in the middle of the ring.
It could happen.
And I think even if he does have that, I think Alberto Del Rio still loses the match.
Yeah, I agree.
Yeah.
All right, so next up, Shield versus the Wyatt family. I got to go with the Wyatts on this one because their momentum needs to be. I think their momentum is getting bigger while the Shield's momentum is going towards breaking up. So this would be a great scene to see them break up at the end of the match.
Completely agree with that. Yeah, there's just no way that it could go any other way unless. I really don't see any other way. There's no way. Sorry.
Yeah.
Yeah. I think this is it. I think that this is going to be the match where Roman Reigns says, "Screw you guys, I'm going home." And I think Ambrose is going to be upset. Rollins is going to be sick with both of them, and the Wyatts are going to be there to take control, win the match, and then I think it's going to lead towards, maybe it's wishful thinking, but a triple threat Shield match at WrestleMania would be awesome, and I hope that's where we're going. So fingers crossed.
Really hope so.
Let's hope that this goes. Either way, I think it's going to be great at Elimination Chamber. So.
I think if anything, it's going to be a war. I mean, it's really going to be a war, which is going to be cool. All right, next up, WWE Tag Team Champions, the New Age Outlaws versus the Usos. My money's on the New Age Outlaws just to continue the feud all the way to WrestleMania. What do you guys think?
I think honestly, I agree. Just because, I mean, if the Usos win, it'll be nice, but I still think they're trying to keep these guys around for who knows what reason.
Yeah, I agree. I think that's pretty much. It depends. I think if the Usos win, we may see the New Age Outlaws kind of ride off into the sunset, maybe with the last hurrah on Raw or something. Yeah. But there's really nobody else for the Usos to really go against that would be believable at WrestleMania. So maybe we'll end up getting like a multi-man triple tag match or something at WrestleMania that will involve the New Age Outlaws, so they don't have to do much more. Because really, I mean, they're physically they can't do much more.
Yeah. All right. Well, moving on. Darren Young versus Titus O'Neil. I don't know why they brought these guys up. I thought they were an excellent tag team. They really had some momentum, especially after Darren Young came out. So I think Titus O'Neil might be a great heel. Anyway, moving on. I think Titus O'Neil wins the match. Brian, what do you think?
I mean, honestly, I could see Darren Young squeaking out like one of those roll up pen kind of wins. But if he loses. And, you know, this might seem a little extreme as an angle, but maybe he goes against the system saying, hey, why is everybody turning against me? Is it because I came out and I said I was gay? Like, you know, something like that. It might be really controversial, but if they try to use that as, like, his way of getting pushed up, you never know.
Yeah, good point. Donnie, what do you think?
Yeah, I could see something like that shaken out, or I think they've got really big plans for Titus O'Neil, and I think this is sort of like the starting point of it. They might still give Darren Young the win and have Titus still look strong and maybe win by have Young win by DQ. I think that's probably what's going to happen in my opinion. But either way, I think that this is the beginning of a rise of Titus Young. I think it's going to be good. Or I mean Titus O'Neil. I'm sorry.
Titus Young, yeah.
Yes.
They merged together into one, becoming Titus Young.
I'm not even going to go there.
Intercontinental Champion Big E versus Jack Swagger. I got to go with Big E. There's no way Swagger's going to win the match. Big E's just got too much momentum, and he's just looking too dominant. What do you guys think? Starting with Brian.
You know, it's hard to agree on everything. So, knowing how WWE treats guys that are really really hot and rising up, I'm gonna go upset and say Swagger wins just because they could set up a match between Swagger and Cesaro at WrestleMania, and they'll just give Cesaro the Intercontinental belt and just forget about him.
Yeah. Donnie, what are your thoughts?
I really like that idea. You should be booking, dude. I think that's what we should see. What we probably will see is Big E goes over. He looks strong. Swagger and Coulter have words again, and maybe we see that start to split up. But I think that the story there is going to be Big E looking pretty strong.
Yeah. Anyway, so finally we get to the Elimination Chamber match. My money, honestly, to goodness, is on Daniel Bryan. I don't see why not. Give him the freaking belt, for goodness sakes. Give the fans what they want. Have him take on a heel Batista at WrestleMania because face Batista's not working. Have Batista do a heel turn by just killing Alberto Del Rio. I think that's what should happen. Then again, I'm not the booker. Donnie, what would you like to see?
I would love to see Brock Lesnar rip the doors off and just beat everybody, but that's not going to happen. Daniel Bryan would be a great second choice there. Honestly, though, what I think is going to happen is Orton's going to get the win, and it's going to be frustrating, and I think the crowd will not respond very well again, but I just think that that's kind of what they're doing. Now, as a result of that, I'm still not 100% sure we won't see Daniel Bryan versus Undertaker. So if Daniel Bryan wins, I think that tells us our answer. If he loses, it's still out there as a possibility, and that's going to be the silver lining if Orton somehow walks away with the belt.
Well, Brian, what would you like to see?
Well, I mean, what would I like to see? I'd love to see Edge come out of retirement and spear everybody, but that's just me. To tell you the truth, it all really depends, because I know how some of these matches work. Like, I don't know if you guys remember, they had like an Elimination Chamber at the lone WWE ECW pay-per-view, like a while back, where they forced like all the good guys like RVD and CM Punk. They were eliminated early just to like force everyone to like Bobby Lashley. It was horrible. That's what I'm thinking. Like, if they do something like this, like if Daniel Bryan's like the first one out, then Orton's going to win, but he's going to beat Cesaro to do it. Like, with that segment you saw with Triple H, Batista, and Orton, there's no way that they're not going to have Orton and Batista fighting and Triple H involved somehow.
God, oh man, that would be the worst main event ever. I think honestly, I think if Daniel Bryan does not walk out WrestleMania champion, the fans will riot. That's a freaking promise. Anyway, so are you guys going to see the pay-per-view this weekend?
Yes, I'll be at our neighborhood Hooters is the only restaurant that shows it. It's buy one get one free wing night, so why not enjoy the sights, the sounds, and the wonderful flavors of Hooters?
Oh, absolutely, I'll be watching it. You know, it's it's a little place on Poster. You can watch it for like $7. You can't beat it.
That's pretty cool. Okay, so
what about you, James? Are you gonna watch it?
Yeah, I'm actually gonna order at my house. Have a couple guys over, and see how it goes. It's maybe the last pay-per-view I will ever order in my life, probably from the WWE. So I'm getting the app, not the app, but the network. So I'm definitely, if anything, I'm gonna get it for the Wyatts versus the Shield. I've always wanted to see this match. I was hoping they'd save it for WrestleMania. I'm glad they're giving it to us before the Shield breaks up. So there's a lot of payoff there for me.
Yeah, absolutely.
All right, so moving on to our retrospective of the Attitude Era, circa February 1997. Not really in the Attitude Era, but we're getting there. In Your House 13, a.k.a. the Final Four, with the main event being Bret Hart versus Stone Cold, Vader, and The Undertaker. First up, the match is Mark Marrow with a freaking nice-looking Sable. I forgot how nice she looked back in '97. I mean, really, I would just kill Brock Lesnar just to marry her. Defeated Leif Cassidy, a.k.a. Al Snow. I thought this match really had no importance whatsoever. They looked okay, but nothing great. Donnie, what'd you think?
Yeah, Mark Marrow has just had come over from WCW not long before this as Johnny B. Bad, the wrestling Little Richard. And believe it or not, I liked that gimmick when he was in WCW. I was also like 12, but I liked it. This match itself was kind of, I guess Sable was the main thing to look at. Al Snow was good, but the Leif Cassidy gimmick was terrible.
Wasn't he part of New Rockers? Was that a thing that they were doing at the time?
I think so. I think it was Marty Jannetty and Leif Cassidy, right?
Yeah. Well, anytime you have any kind of group or tag team that says new, like the New Blackjacks or the New Foundation, it's gonna be horrible.
Yeah.
It just really is. Brian, what'd you think?
I completely hated the match. Like, I mean, okay, let's be fair. Like you were saying, it was all about seeing Sable, because I mean, what did they do with Marrow after this besides make him pretty much look bad compared to Sable, and then freaking Leif or Al Snow just go to ECW right after this anyway.
Yeah. If your career is almost dead in WCW or WWF, you go to ECW, you get your Extreme on, you come back and you kick some butts. So yeah, that was probably a good move for him. He found some head. So I thought it was, it was okay.
Can I add something real quick? Like, to me, the one thing that I forgot that I really hated the most about is like, so okay, I know on Raw or whatever show it is, there's like constraints for TV time, so you don't really show everybody's entrance. But if it's a pay-per-view and you don't show a guy's entrance, you already know he's gonna lose.
Yeah, jobber opening there. Okay, next up in the card was the Nation of Domination, Farouk, Crush, and Savio Vega, recent convert to the Nation. Defeated Bart Gunn, Goldust, and Flash Funk, which is the most eclectic group of faces I think I've ever seen. I think the whole point of the match was to put the Nation over. They looked vicious. The wrestling was okay. The faces looked disappointed, but they weren't, their careers weren't over. Actually, Bart Gunn's and Flash Funk's were, and for the most part, Goldust. What do you think, Brian?
Okay, a couple of things real quick. Like, when I saw Flash Funk's entrance, I'm like, so this is where Bros Clay got it from, right?
Yeah. The Funkadactyls and everything.
Like tons of funk, Funkadactyls, Flash Funk. Like there's a lot of funk going on right there.
Yeah.
Even though they ripped off Ernest Miller's music for it, but
They own the rights.
yeah, they do. But to tell you the truth, like there really wasn't a whole lot in that because I mean I thought the whole point was that because they what was it? Ahmed Johnson wasn't wrestling. They just needed 3 guys to throw at the Nation to make them look good for WrestleMania because those guys were fighting. I mean, Goldust gets a match at WrestleMania.
Yeah.
But everything else just seemed like just fillers. Just like, hey, throw these guys at the Nation, make them look good, and we'll figure out something later.
Yeah. Donnie, what were your thoughts?
Yeah, I'll admit first of all to loving Flash Funk, but as Too Cold Scorpio in WCW and ECW, his WWF run was not that great. But in the ring, I mean, the guy was awesome, and you know he showed in that match with a couple of spots where I think in retrospect, going down in history, he's one of the most underrated stars that I can think of. So it was nice to see him in the match to kind of relive some some nostalgia. But otherwise, Nation of Domination looking strong, and everybody else was just sort of relegated to making them look that good.
Yeah, I think that's pretty much the whole point of the match. So it wasn't really a time sink, but yeah, it was okay.
So can I have one thing? I'm sorry to interrupt. Like,
okay.
There was like when Donnie was going about the spot. Like the one thing that I really actually enjoyed about the match was like I think it was Farouk and I think Crush had like their arms together and like Flash like hit the ropes and like did like a flip like between the 2 guys and then like clothesline both of them. I honestly had never seen that before.
Yeah, that was pretty cool. I gotta give him props for that match. Okay, next up we have Rocky Maivia, the Intercontinental Champion, defeated Hunter Hearst Helmsley. Rocky won the belt previous on Monday Night Raw. Goes to show how much importance the TV show was over the pay-per-view at this point. I thought it was a good match. This is the first time we've ever seen Chyna, so very historic there. If you're a Chyna fan, which none of us should be.
No.
But I think she looked good for that time period. Still, what do you guys think? Starting with Donnie.
Yeah, I think the main story of this match was obviously Chyna at the end. I mean, Rocky Maivia was still coming to his own, and Triple H was kind of but to see the Marlena stunt there, I don't know if you guys paid attention to that at all with Chyna choking her out. It was really funny if you watched. She started getting choked out, and she was kind of half selling it, and then Chyna let her go, and she completely no-sells it. And then I guess that was Rocky goes up to her, and she all of a sudden sells it hardcore. So it just goes to show that she was one of my least favorite early divas, and I think that shows why, because she was terrible.
Yeah, she was terrible. She had a good look to her, at least. I like the cigar smoking thing, a little suggestive, but yeah, I think that there was pretty much the whole point of the match was introducing Chyna, moving on the Goldust Triple H feud, or Hunter Hearst Helmsley at this point feud. So yeah, I thought it was okay. Rocky Maivia stays the champion. Let's see what the Blue Chipper does in the future. What'd you think, Brian?
I think honestly the best part of the match was like when the part when Chyna was choking Terry, and then you hear JR go, "Is that a woman? Is that a man?" Like he didn't know, and like and then so I guess somebody said in the headset, "It's a woman, it's a woman." But really that was really the whole thing's continuing that feud, and it was at the expense of Rocky and the Intercontinental title. But that early Rocky was just horrible.
Yeah, he's it gets even worse at WrestleMania, which we'll get to next week. But yeah, that was a bad. I think putting the belt on Rocky too soon, like it was like Curtis Axel. It just really hurt his career. Didn't let him develop as a wrestler, and the fans just started they were like turning on him at this point. But you can definitely hear the lack of response to him, which is definitely noticeable. Okay, moving on to another championship match. We have Doug Furnas and Phil LaFon. Who the heck are these guys? Defeated Owen Hart and the British Bulldog, who are the tag team champions by disqualification when Owen Hart hit his Slammy Lord into either LaFon or Furnas. I don't know which one. They're interchangeable to me. Again, this whole match was just to highlight the potential breakup of Owen Hart and the British Bulldog. Brother-in-laws, but just guys who can't get along. Brian, what'd you think?
just honestly didn't care. Because I mean, let's just call it what it is. Like those guys came out of nowhere, and I guess like they were trying to make those guys look good. But first off, their music was terrible, and if you have terrible music, you're not really going anywhere. And then I mean, as much as like they were leading towards that breakup of Owen and Bulldog, which I don't think ever actually happened because the Hart Foundation happened before that could happen. But there was no way they weren't going to have those guys be the tag champs at WrestleMania.
Definitely not. Donnie, what'd you think?
Well, I was actually kind of surprised, especially towards the beginning of this match when either Furnace or LaFon, whichever one it was, that had the little exchange with Owen Hart. I mean, it was pretty good. I don't know if you noticed, like the pinfall after pinfall after pinfall sort of chain wrestling going on, and that caught my attention. Sadly, my attention kind of waned after that, but it was a good start. Furnace and LaFon were actually pretty well known in Canada, believe it or not, as the Can-Am Express. And then they had fought with both Bulldog and Owen a lot early in the Stampede days, so they had some sort of history together, and I think that added something to the match. But the booking overall didn't make much sense, and it was mainly used to get Owen and Bulldog over. So yeah, it was all right for what it was.
Yeah, well, thank you, Professor, for that.
Also, interestingly enough, is Doug Furnace is the only guy left alive that was in that match, and that was kind of
You think Clarence Mason, is he still alive?
Ooh. Yeah, but his career's dead.
Hey, who was the referee?
I will have to look that up. I think it was probably, good news. Herman Stevens, a.k.a. Clarence Mason, is still alive, but his career has been dead for years.
So we have a chance to get him on the show next week?
He's a practicing lawyer, isn't he?
I think he is actually a lawyer right now.
Then I will look his information up, see if I can't find him through the ABA. So
yeah, he currently practices out of offices in Delray Beach. Donnie, it's your job is to find Clarence Mason and have him on a show next week.
If I can figure it out, we're totally doing this.
Anyway, our final match and the main event, which is actually, honestly enough, the first. Actually, I thought it was the first championship match that didn't involve Shawn Michaels since WrestleMania 12. But I think there was another one that had Psycho Sid versus somebody. So
Bret Hart.
Was he taking on Bret Hart in the?
It was the In Your House that in December, like because Bret beat Stone Cold from #1 Contenders match.
So Bret Hart's still in the match. Go figure. WrestleMania 13 will be the first match to not have Bret Hart or Shawn Michaels in the main event for the championship in quite a while. So we have Bret Hart defeated Stone Cold Steve Austin, Vader, and The Undertaker, and I thought it was kind of it was a four-way match, but the rules were you could win via pinfall, submission, or over the top rope. Which was weird. What did you guys think about that? Starting with Donnie.
Yeah, I thought that whole stipulation was made because it sounds like one of those situations where they made the ending spot first and then went backwards from there and said, well, how can we make that work? Yeah, we'll just make it over the top rope because that'll work great. Yeah. So I just thought the over the top rope thing seemed shoehorned, and it only became an issue at the end. Yeah. However, I will say that my MVP for this match, 5-star performance, goes to Vader, of all people. I thought he looked awesome during this match, and that blood was gruesome, and he did great work with every single person in that ring.
I think so too. I'm convinced that Vader does not know wrestling is not real. So I think that he was just gushing that entire match, which was in the PG era will never fly. But you see, we're getting, I guess, closer to the Attitude Era, and I don't think I've ever seen them bleed that much before. What do you think, Brian?
To tell you the truth, like what Donnie said about them shoehorning the over-the-top rope thing, I wonder just because of the guys in the match that maybe this was like Vince's way of trying to put a smile back on Shawn's face. Because the way Bret Hart won, just knocking the Undertaker over the top rope, it makes Undertaker doesn't look so bad because he's not getting pinned, but to me that's just like a weak way to win the belt. But then again, he only kept it for 24 hours, so it is what it is.
But I thought overall the match was really good. I think that Stone Cold and Bret Hart really worked extremely well. Vader and the Undertaker, they have some beef with each other, so they work great together. They kind of kept on like switching off who they're fighting like throughout the match, and everybody's going for the pinfall submission. Nobody's going for the easier over-the-top rope victory. So, but overall, for a 2-hour show, I think it definitely was serves its purpose.
It was a long match too. That thing just kind of kept going, but it didn't feel as long as it really was. Like, you know what I mean? Like it was a action-packed match, but it was basically half the pay-per-view, or at least it felt that way.
Yeah, Mark Mero and Leif Cassidy felt longer than this match.
Yes, it did.
A quick question: do you guys feel like overall it was good, considering that they had to scramble because Shawn dropped, like he just gave up the belt?
Yeah, I think so. I think the initial poster, I think it had like Austin versus Bret Hart and Sid versus Michaels on it, and I think they definitely did scramble for it. But for the scrambling, I think they did an excellent job.
Yeah, and I think what they did was they went back to their foremost reliable hands and said, "Hey guys, let's make something work," and it came off beautifully, in my opinion. I thought that was it was awesome. And the only drawback that I saw to the match, number one, the stipulation was weird, and number two, the Sid thing at the end was just kind of like, I mean, who didn't see that coming? They cut to Sid in the back watching the match while it happened, looking mad. Like, that's, you know, it shouldn't have surprised anybody. The last person it should have surprised would be Jim Ross, and it surprised him a lot. So, I don't know. I just thought that was kind of not a great way to end it. They just should have ended it with Brett celebrating. But it was a great match.
Forgive me. I guess this goes into a little pet peeve of mine, but maybe it's just so stupid that I have this problem. But, like, if you're not wrestling on a pay-per-view and you're there, if you're not wrestling, why are you in wrestling gear? Like couldn't Sid have come out in like blue jeans and and just started beating the crap out of people? Like, why do they have to be in their gear? Like, you don't have a match. Quit giving away what's going on here.
I think that once you go into the arena, you automatically transform into your wrestling gear. That's my opinion.
To quote the great Dennis Stamp, I would say that you never know when your next match is going to be, so always be ready.
That's true. I'm pretty sure he had like stripper clothes on and just like took those off.
Yeah.
Okay, so we didn't do this for Royal Rumble. But what do you guys think of this pay-per-view overall? I think it's probably a C+ because the last match made it really good, but overall I think it was just okay. Donnie, what'd you think?
I don't know. Let's ask over to Brian. I'll be curious to hear his, because I wonder if he's going to say what I think he's going to say. So,
all right,
go
Brian,
ahead.
what'd you think?
Honestly, I think it was terrible. To be fair, actually not even really to be fair. You could have changed it from In Your House to like an episode of Monday Night Raw, and I wouldn't have known the difference.
Yeah, that is an excellent point. Yeah, I think this, with the exception of the last match, everything was kind of blah.
Yeah. That's what I was hoping he was going to go to. That's what I was thinking, was that it just felt basically like an episode of Raw, and then it was, this I guess was before pay-per-views got really big, and this was more of, I think these were only like $9.99. I think when they came out, they were priced, to sell, so to speak, and it felt like that. It was an afterthought of a show.
Yeah, kind of get your money's worth.
And I know we're not going to the whole WCW thing yet, but to be fair, like, what were they competing with at the time? Like, Hogan was fighting Piper. I mean, you don't need much.
Yeah, but yeah.
Actually, I thought this was kind of indicative of half the card at least is why the WCW was kind of beating the WWF at the time, because you did have, you might have had like Hogan Piper for the 18th year in a row, but you also had like an undercard of like Dean Malenko and Eddie Guerrero and Chris Benoit and all these guys versus Leif Cassidy and Mark Mero and all those guys. So I think undercard was what was supporting WCW through those times, and this main event was better than anything that WCW was doing at the time. But the undercard WCW would just roll right over.
Yeah, the undercard I think was the best part of it. From watching WCW, they had such great talent there that really hit a big glass ceiling. But for what they were doing, I thought that was a big draw back in the day too, that people really kind of take for granted. Anyway, moving on because time is short, and we wanted to go through our favorite wrestlers of all time. An easy list to do, but actually very difficult for me too. Brian, since this is your idea, let's start with you. What was your number 5 wrestler of all time?
I feel bad because, honest to God, like, I think once I tell you this, like, you're just gonna like cut me off this thing and not let me do 4 through 1. I'm 100% honest with you. Because to me, I don't know what really to you guys defines like favorite wrestlers, but for me, it's a guy that like week in and week out you would always tune in to watch and was entertaining, no matter if he was a good guy or a bad guy. So this is gonna be a surprise maybe to you guys, but my number 5 is Ernest the Cat Miller. I'm completely serious about that. I know it can, I think like it's crazy, like it's not like you're Savage or Hogan or something like that, but like the dude was entertaining from week in and week out, like coming out saying he's 3-time world karate champion, coming out saying he was the greatest. His whole little dance off that he ended up having with James Brown, which was ridiculous in and of itself. And let's not forget, he was a WCW commissioner. That in and of itself, I mean, it puts him right up there with like, Mike Sanders, Terry Funk, like legends in the business. So, like, I'm being completely serious though. Like, I always like anytime his music hit, I would never change the channel because he was always entertaining. And let's not forget, he had that little thing in '99 where he kept calling out Scott Norton, just so Scott Norton would like kick his ass every week. Like, that stuff was fantastic. I love that guy.
Well, that's a damn good point. I kind of based my list off the same reason too. Donnie, you're number 5.
Number 5 for me is going to be John. No, I'm kidding. I'm going to go with Mr. Perfect for my number 5. Those vignettes that he had as a young child, they were very impressionable. I had pictures of Mr. Perfect hanging in my locker room when I was in middle school. Like that guy was my idol for a very long time. I don't think he ever had a bad match, and I think that everybody he ever wrestled he made look amazing. So I think that's and that's a common theme in my list. But mainly I think wrestling lost a great one. We lost Kurt, and he goes down as my 5th favorite, definitely.
Okay, well, I kind of did my list chronologically, based on, like Brian said, the guy he would watch. You would go to wrestling to watch week in and week out. So first time I got into wrestling, I was about 9-10 years old, about 1990, around WrestleMania 6, and my guy was Hulk Hogan. Just because he really tugged at your heartstrings when he did interviews. He was emotional. You could connect with him as a 10-year-old because the guy is a freaking real-life superhero. So, yeah, I know like a lot of his stuff he's done since then has been god-awful. He's essentially like run businesses out of the ground, TNA and WCW. But dang it, I will always cheer for Hogan no matter who he's wrestling or why he's wrestling. As long as it's not Hollywood Hulk Hogan, because that guy just sucks. One of my favorite experiences as a wrestling fan is actually seeing Hulk Hogan live. So, yeah, I think he's definitely my number 5 favorite.
For me, I never got to see him live. Like him and Ric Flair, never got to see them. That always got me.
All right, well, moving on to number 4 for you, Brian.
Oh, and sorry, one super quick thing. I apologize. Like I know what Donnie said about Mr. Perfect and sad he's being gone. If you ever want to constantly remember that, look up the Randy Savage rap album because it's the last track on there.
Wow.
Wow.
Believe me, I wouldn't know that unless I found it for $3 at a bin at the PX on Post a couple years ago.
Be a man, Hogan.
Yeah, brother. No, to be honest, my number 4 is CM Punk.
Oh, okay.
Good.
Because I'll be honest, like 2011 when we had the pipe bomb, on John Cena, like that's the reason I got back into it, because wrestling was just boring the tears out of me after Edge was forced to retire. So like Punk brought me back, and just seeing him like carry the company through those horrible John Cena, John Laurinaitis angles, like really sold it for me. His matches with Jericho were fantastic. Daniel Bryan, fantastic. He carried Cena more than anyone else I'd seen, even more than Edge, I'll be honest. So to me, like his work has always been outstanding. He makes everybody look good, and I'm really mad he's gone. If it is not in fact a work.
Well, we'll find out eventually. Donnie, what is your number 4?
Well, before I get to my number 4, there's a indie match out there that's Eddie Guerrero, Rey Mysterio, and CM Punk. And I don't know if you've seen it, Brian, but if you haven't, look on YouTube, and it is incredible. It's my favorite triple threat of all time, and it takes place in a high school gym. It's that good. Okay, my number 4 is Hulk Hogan. I mean, I couldn't not put him on the list. He meant so much to me, as like you said, James. When we were kids, I can remember having fun pals and underoo. I mean, it takes a lot to wear another. It takes a lot to wear another man on your underwear, and Hulk Hogan's the one that made it. So I'll say I loved Hogan when I was a kid, and even WrestleMania 17 against The Rock is Hollywood. When they turn and look at the crowd, and he becomes the Hulkster again. I mean, that nobody else has ever been capable of controlling a crowd like that, and he controlled me too. So I love the Hulkster, and not what he became, but what he was.
Yeah, that's definitely very true words. Okay, so my number 4 is, when I got into wrestling again, I was around 16, actually 15, 16, 17 years old, and my number 4 is The Rock. I think this guy, once he became The Rock as opposed to Rocky Maivia, the cocky heel, I loved him as a cocky heel, I love him as a cocky face. I really don't think he's ever really been a good guy. He just beats off bad guys or beats up good guys. So I love his charisma, his psychology, his work rate. He can do excellent matches. He's probably not the best technical wrestler of all time, but I think in terms of a showman, he cannot be beat. So he's the man I always wanted to be when I was 17. I still want to be that same guy.
Good.
Hey, I mean, there's a spot in Fast and Furious movies, so go for it.
I can always try to... Yeah, that's too soon, man. Too soon.
I wasn't implying anything about Paul Walker, rest in peace, of course, but
I smell what you're cooking, James.
Nice. I like that. That's good. So I guess it's my turn again, or
yeah, number 3, right?
It doesn't matter whose turn it is. Just keep on.
Oh, it's your. Yeah, it's your.
Right.
Yeah.
It was tough between because my 3 and 2 are interchangeable just about, but I went with Chris Jericho, just because I mean I didn't get to see a whole lot of his ECW stuff, but I mean I caught some of it. It was really good, but his WCW stuff, the fact that the man of 1,004 holds, the guy that basically NFL bad, he forced Ray Jr. to unmask, Juventud to unmask, and they really should have kept their masks on because Ray looked like a 12-year-old boy. It wasn't even funny. But, the stuff he did with Goldberg that was cut short, and if you've read any of Jericho's books, the whole story behind it, it's crazy. But his stuff then, and then when he got into the WWF and that entrance with The Rock, that's still talked about today. That was a completely epic entrance, and, his matches, when he had the Undisputed title, when he had his feud, his feud with Shawn Michaels, 2008 or 7 or 8, I want to say, was one of the best things I'd ever seen. It was the best ladder match I had ever seen, and that beats TLC from WrestleMania 17. So, just Jericho has found a way to reinvent himself. He's had the most Intercontinental title reigns of anybody of all time. Love that guy. Jericho's the man.
Awesome. Yeah, I completely agree. I love Jericho. But all of his returns seem to be just so much bigger on a different level than anybody else's. It's always a big event when Chris Jericho's coming back.
Absolutely.
So I guess my number. I'm up to my number 3 now. My number 3 is going to be the man called Sting. And once again, this kind of goes back a while, but I will say that my very first house show that I ever went and saw was Sting versus Big Van Vader. And it was, let's be honest, it was Sting that brought me out to my first wrestling show. That's why I went and saw it. And it was awesome. And from the Surfer to the Crow gimmick, which totally changed everything. One of the loudest sounds I've ever heard, and James, you were there that day, was when at the Fairfax Patriot Center, when Sting, the lights came on and he was coming down to the ring to fight off the NWO.
That was such a cool moment.
One of the first times that anybody had seen Sting actually come out and fight, and it just was deafening. And that stayed with me as well. So I will say that he earns that spot, and he's always if he comes in now, he's more than welcome. I didn't really watch him much in TNA because it's TNA and I can't stomach it for too long. But my memories of him in WCW are strong enough to put him in that 3rd spot.
Wow. Well, my number 3, and this is going to tick off Brian to no end, is John Cena.
Oh,
golly. Come on now. All right, go ahead, please.
Well,
please.
this is my argument. Well, this is the James Dunn from 2003, 2004. I was really getting back into wrestling again for the umpteenth time. I think Cena really, especially at that point, I really was attracted to his again, his cockiness, his attitude, his ability to call out anybody, get his butt kicked, or win. I think he had excellent psychology. Still has excellent psychology in the ring. He's still doing Match of the Years with freaking Cesaro from this year. And yeah, I think that definitely the Super Cena gimmick has really hurt him as to the regular fans. But I will still cheer for him. I still like him. I wish he would get some of his attitude back, but I think overall his career has been excellent, and his work rate plus his microphone work has been phenomenal.
Oh, man.
I mean, I see the argument there. I do, and I respect it. It's fine. Cena's not my cup of Joe, but I like him. He's all right.
I would personally have liked him if he maybe had gone as a heel at some point in the last 10 years. Like this whole Fruity Pebbles thing, I'm kind of done with that. That's just me. I mean, he made The Rock look bad in those promos, which I give him credit for. And okay, one of my favorite matches he ever did was I think it was like a backstage fight that had the cars surrounding him and Eddie Guerrero.
Yes.
Like a SmackDown match. I was like, that was a really good match. And James, I'll give you one quick thing. The one time I ever really remember rooting for Cena was when it was down to him and Batista in the 2005 Rumble, and I was like, Batista doesn't deserve this. 9 years later, he still doesn't deserve this.
Yeah.
Yeah, my favorite John Cena moment that I have to bring up here is his Umaga fight at the Royal Rumble, where he literally undid the rope from the turnbuckle and choked him out like Princess Leia choking out Jabba the Hutt, and just completely took out Umaga like that. That was awesome. So I understand. Like I've marked out for many a Cena moment.
And I know we'll do it for a different show, and we're dragging on, but kind of the beef I always had with them is that they shouldn't have taken the belt off of Edge when they did right away, because the whole rated R gimmick was just kicking off. But that was another time, another show.
All right, so we're running out of time here, but Brian, you're number 2.
And that leads into my number 2, because my number 2 is Edge.
Ooh.
100%. It was tough because I've never had a problem watching Jericho at all, except for his really white babyface stuff in early WCW. But and the beginning stuff with Edge, where he was the education, the educator. I was kind of gritting my teeth watching that. But his early stuff with Christian, when he Edge and Christian itself was fantastic. Then when he feuded with him, his feud with Kurt Angle. Let's remember, people. He started the "You Suck" chant.
Oh yeah, I forgot about that.
And then they built him up, and then when he came back from his first neck injury, and they pushed him in feuds with Shawn Michaels, he got all the way to the top. Cashed in Money in the Bank, which was huge at the time because everyone was looking for a break from Cena, and Edge gave that to them. That's why they had the high ratings. His match with Mick Foley was good. He made Randy Orton interesting when they were rated RKO. I mean, let's not forget that. And then how could people not like the guy? He had to suffer through making out with Vicky Guerrero. And his multiple comebacks from injuries, it seemed like every chance that they could, they did something with him. And another quick fact. He's the only guy, let's not forget, that lost the championship in a chamber and then won a championship in another chamber in the same night.
Wow.
Let's not forget that little nugget.
That's right.
But it's gonna sound so bad when I say this, but when I came back, I was on home from leave from Afghanistan 2011, and because I came home because my mom died, and then I found out that right at the same time that Edge had to retire because of his neck injury, and I felt bad because I got I was equally upset about both things, and I was like, are you kidding me? Edge had that much of an impact. I miss that guy being in the ring, talking, wrestling. I miss Edge being there. Like, he was charismatic the whole way.
Yeah, one thing I'll say about Edge is that one of the common things that people always say is that CM Punk is the Joker to John Cena's Batman or whatever. But honestly, I think that belongs to Edge. I think his feud with Cena. When I think of Cena's biggest arch rival, I always think of Edge, even to this day. So there's something to be said for that. Edge was tremendous.
Oh, can I add a little super quick caveat to what Donnie just said? Like, CM Punk, I want to bring it up when I mentioned him. He is Randy Savage to John Cena's Hulk Hogan.
Mm. Yeah, definitely. He is the peanut butter to John Cena's jam. Anyway, Donnie, who's your number 2?
Bret the Hitman Hart. He was another one that just kept me watching through the years. It's a shame what happened to him. But with the Montreal Screwjob, at the same time, like, I can go back to Bret's matches now, and I can't find a bad one. I mean, Sid's not great, but when I think of my favorite matches of all time, Bret's name is always in the top 5 in almost every match. Him versus Bulldog, him versus Roddy Piper, him versus Shawn Michaels, him versus Stone Cold. So it's just, so many different people. I love Bret. He's the excellence of execution, and he's close to being the best there was and ever will be. And there's only one guy that is above that. We'll get to him in a minute, but Bret Hart's my number 2.
Okay, well, all right. My number 2 is Shawn Michaels. Kind of rediscovered him after he came back. I was never a Shawn Michaels fan when the first time he was around, but I think he was just been phenomenal. I think he pretty much is like the best wrestler in terms of psychology and his high-risk maneuvers and being a technical wrestler too. He knows how to tell a great story. His innovator. Ever since he was like tag team champion, intercontinental champion, world champion multiple times. I think he's been great. And the fact that he actually went through a lot of personal stuff, too, a lot of it self-inflicted, but was able to overcome that and come back even stronger and better. It had an even better run with his second time around than he did the first time around. That impresses me, and I don't think I've ever seen a bad Shawn Michaels match until I watched the one with Sid from last week. That was pretty crappy.
Yeah.
But yeah, Shawn Michaels is definitely my number 2.
If I could ask something, Shawn Michaels made John Cena watchable through a 60-minute match. I'll give you that. Yeah, multiple times. I was like, because you knew Cena wasn't going to lose, but still, Michaels made him look like a 5-star. It was that good.
And the fact that they've actually, I don't think they only did one WrestleMania pay-per-view, that Shawn Michaels versus John Cena, but that was phenomenal, I thought.
Hey, and by the way, he's the only person to tag team with God. Let's not forget that.
Let's not bring that
up. Sorry. Couldn't. But I guess for my number 1, I had to go with Bret Hart myself. And I feel bad because I feel like O Canada should be playing when I talk about these guys, but
dub it in later on.
Yeah, that would be fantastic. But I honestly never saw a bad match of that guy. I mean, he made the Patriot look good. He made like Lafayette look good when he stole Bret Hart's jacket. I mean, that's ridiculous. I mean, okay, let's be fair. His match with Vince McMahon, I wish it never happened, but I don't know if it's like mea culpa from Montreal. Like,
it really was.
But like, he is. Like, his matches were always top-notch. Like, his interview skills were fantastic. He made so many people's careers. And to me, as much as HBK is a very impactful, important guy, you can't, to me, without Bret Hart, I don't think a lot of things would have happened, because without the screw job and him going to WCW, I don't think the Attitude Era would have kicked off like that. And who knows what would have happened if Goldberg didn't, knock a concussion into him in 99. So who knows what would have happened to him.
Good points, and definitely excellent number 1. What was your number 1, Donnie?
My number 1 is Shawn Michaels. when I was a kid, watching him, I remember watching live on Superstars, him kicking Marty Jannetty through, or then chucking him. He kicked him and then threw him through a barbershop window, and that stayed with me. And then I used to be so upset when I was, like 9, 10 years old, so upset. Why couldn't Shawn? Nobody could beat him. He always cheated. He either Sensational Sherry threw in the heel and he would hit him with that, or he would slip out of the ring at the last minute. He just couldn't be beaten. It used to just piss me off so much. And then he became a face, and the boyhood dream came through, and I was along for all that ride. And then he lost his smile, and I lost mine. And, no, I just can't. But the whole thing came. He came back, and his second run will always go down as one of the greatest comebacks in the history of wrestling and history of life. And the way he went out finally is just, he's definitely my favorite. And it's strange that my top two are Bret Hart and Shawn Michaels, because I don't know that you could find any two different people. But in the ring, they were masters of their craft, and I don't think you'd have one without the other, and vice versa. I think Shawn Michaels is he's the guy for me. So number one, HBK.
Wow. So we had number ones being Bret Hart, Shawn Michaels, and my number one, going with my theme, though, doing this chronologically, I'm going with Daniel Bryan. I know he's not a, he hasn't really set his mark yet on the wrestling world as much as the other guys have. They've been around for decades, some of them, but I think he's got such great intensity. The fans love him, at least for now. I don't think I'll see him turn on him anytime soon. I think he is the wrestler of the future who's going to carry the company for the next 5-6 years, or just leave like CM Punk. But I think definitely his work rate already has set him apart from anybody else. So he's my reason, my favorite right now for watching week in and week out, to see him overcome and to see his story. So that's it for my top five. I think excellent list all around, except for maybe Ernest the Cat Miller.
Oh, come on!
I thought that was a good pick, man.
It was a good pick.
You can't argue. He said he was the greatest. I'm just saying.
Do you know who my number 6 was? Too Cold Scorpio.
Ah.
So I almost had my own Ernest the Cat Miller moment. So.
Well. My number 6 was Macho Man, unfortunately. The list is just only big enough for so many guys.
That's true.
James, I like your number one. I just, I don't know, I've seen some of his earlier stuff. Like, if you go back and see his stuff, like, pre-goat beard, it's hard to watch. Like, look at his face when, he's out there. But, I mean, okay. I'm a big fan. I just don't like that he had the job to Sheamus like that at WrestleMania.
Yeah, that was bad. So anyway, that concludes our top 5 list of the week. Next up is Donnie for picking up a list or choosing a list for us.
Yeah.
You got a teaser?
Yes, the teaser is well, let's just go ahead and say it. Let's say the top 5 wasted opportunities. These are either angles or wrestlers that coulda, woulda, shoulda, but didn't. So that's what we'll go with next week.
Well, I got to do some research then. All right, good. Thanks for giving me a week ahead of time. And next week we'll also be doing WrestleMania 13, which is going to be the Rise of the Undertaker. Something like that. Anyway, sign up for DB&J Wrestling Podcast. This is Turnbuckle Jim.
Chair Shot Donnie.
And Brian Spanish Announce Table Glass.
We'll see you guys next week.
Later.
Yep, later.